It was 3:07 a.m. when Maria Velasquez's old flip phone buzzed on the nightstand. The glow of the screen lit up her tiny bedroom in the Bronx, where a ceiling fan clicked quietly and the radiator hissed like it was always angry. She had only fallen asleep an hour earlier, still wearing her scrubs from the double shift she'd pulled at St. Luke's Medical Center. Her feet throbbed, her neck ached, and she groaned, rolling over and blinking groggily at the phone. Unknown number. She squinted at it, let it buzz once, twice, 3 times. It was probably a wrong number. Or spam. Or someone drunk. Nothing good ever came after midnight. But something deep in her gut whispered, answer it. She rubbed her face and thumbed the green button. Hello. Her voice was raw, barely above a whisper. The man's voice on the other end was sharp with panic. Is this the private nurse agency? Please, my daughter, she's burning up. 103. She's shaking, she's not responding, and I don't know what to do. I called the emergency service line, they gave me this number. Maria frowned. No, I think you got the wrong number. I'm not part of an agency. I'm just a hospital nurse. There was a pause. His breath hitched. Then he said, desperate, I don't care. Please, I don't know what else to do. She's only 5. Her name is Ava. She keeps crying and then she just stopped. And I don't want to lose her. Maria sat upright, fully awake now. She was trained to be calm, to detach. But this man's voice wasn't just a voice. It was raw fear, grief waiting to happen. All right, she murmured. Give me the address. 15 minutes later, she stood outside a towering iron gate in a neighborhood she'd never dreamed of walking through, much less entering. The cab driver looked her up and down in the rearview mirror. You sure this is the place? Maria nodded. Her hoodie was zipped up over her wrinkled scrubs. She wore old sneakers, her hair twisted into a bun with a pen shoved through it. She was gripping a stethoscope and a small medical kit she always carried in her backpack, just in case. The intercom buzzed once, then the gate clicked open. She stepped through, staring up at the vast stone mansion nestled behind manicured hedges and glowing under soft exterior lights. It looked like something out of a movie. She felt like a trespasser. The front door opened before she reached it. A man stood there barefoot in dark sweats and a gray t-shirt. He was tall, about 6'3", with stubble on his jaw and shadows under his eyes. For a split second, he just stared at her like he didn't believe she was real. You're the nurse? He asked. Maria nodded. Where is she? Upstairs. Second door on the left. She won't stop shivering. He moved aside, and she entered the house. The floors gleamed. The walls were lined with art. A chandelier shimmered overhead. She barely noticed. Her mind was already on the child. The room was massive, with pale curtains billowing slightly in the air-conditioned breeze. A little girl lay in the center of an enormous bed, curled up and trembling. Her face was red, her lips dry, her eyes glazed. Maria moved fast. She washed her hands in the bathroom, snapped on gloves from her kit, checked the girl's temperature. 103.4. Too high for comfort. What's her name? She asked. Ava. Maria sat on the edge of the bed and gently wiped the girl's forehead with a cool cloth. Hi, Ava. My name's Maria. I'm here to help you feel better, okay? The girl gave the smallest nod. I need cold water and a bowl. Ice, if you have it, Maria told the man, not even looking up. He moved. She began checking for signs of serious infection, neck stiffness, rash, reactivity. Everything pointed to a bad virus, possibly flu. Not life-threatening, but frightening for a father alone at night. She made a mental note to encourage him to call a pediatrician first next time, and not random numbers. The fever began to drop an hour later. Ava was resting quietly, the flush fading from her cheeks. Maria sat with her hand on the girl's small back, feeling each breath as it evened out. Behind her, the man exhaled like he hadn't breathed since the call. She's all I have, he whispered. Maria glanced at him. She'll be okay. You did the right thing, calling. I didn't. I called the wrong number. Maria didn't answer. As the first gray light of dawn filtered through the curtains, the man led her downstairs. The kitchen was immaculate and soulless, with sleek steel appliances and a cold marble island. He made coffee. Maria sat on a stool, cradling the warm mug in her palms. She wasn't sure what she was doing. She hadn't even clocked in. She had no intention of staying. I should pay you, he said. I didn't come for money. He frowned. Why did you come? She shrugged. You sounded like a man who didn't know how to breathe. He stared at her. I'm Daniel, he said finally, offering his hand. Daniel Cross. She blinked. As in Cross Tech. He grimaced. Yeah, sorry. She shook his hand, amused. I thought you'd be ruder. He chuckled. I usually am. You caught me at my worst. His eyes met hers for a moment too long. Can I convince you to stay? He asked. Just for a few days. Until she's back on her feet. Maria hesitated. She thought of her apartment. The stack of unpaid bills. The hospital. But Ava's tiny fingers had curled around hers. She nodded once. Okay. She moved into a guest room larger than her whole apartment. Ava took to her instantly, following her like a shadow, asking questions, begging for bedtime stories. She called her Miss M. Daniel hovered at a respectful distance. But each day, he lingered a little longer. They started eating meals together. Maria made food that reminded her of her grandmother's kitchen, rice and beans, fried eggs, warm tortillas. Ava loved it. So did Daniel. You're spoiling us, he said, one night over fried plantains. You could use a little spoiling, she replied. He stared at her then, like she'd said something he hadn't known he needed to hear. One evening, Ava was asleep and Maria stood by the window, looking out over the vast, perfect lawn. Daniel joined her. She hasn't laughed like that in 2 years, he said quietly. Maria looked at him. Her mom. Cancer, he said. Fast. I didn't know how to help her. I still don't. You're doing your best. Not good enough. You love her. That's enough. They stood in silence for a while. Maria started to leave after a week. Her bag was packed. She told herself it had all been temporary. Daniel walked her to the door. I owe you everything, he said. I wasn't planning to stay forever. You kissed my daughter goodnight, he said quietly. You made her laugh. You made me. She didn't let him finish. She stepped toward him. He stepped toward her. The kiss was slow, hesitant, full of questions. When it broke, she shook her head. That was a mistake. He whispered, not to me. Maria left the next morning. She went back to her shifts, her small apartment, the world she knew. Daniel called, texted, emailed. She didn't answer. 2 weeks later, his name flashed on her phone again. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. Ava's fever is back, he said. She keeps asking for you. Maria didn't pack a bag. She just grabbed her coat and went. After the doctor left and Ava was asleep again, Daniel stood in the hallway, trembling. I don't know how to do this without you, he said. Not just as a nurse. As you. Maria didn't move. I think I fell in love with you the moment you walked into our house, he said. And every day since then has just proved I was right. She whispered, you're not in love with me. You're just lonely. I've been lonely for a long time, he said. But I didn't know what love was until I met you. She stayed. She moved in. She filled the house with real laughter, real food, real warmth. Ava stopped calling her Miss M. She called her Mama. A year later, Daniel knelt in the garden where Ava had planted sunflowers. He held a ring. You were the wrong call, he said. But the right answer to everything. Maria cried. And said yes. At their wedding, Ava stood in a white dress and told the guests how a sleepy nurse answered a wrong number and never left. Because sometimes the wrong number leads you home.